Hey Bible readers, I'm Tara Lee Cobble, and I'm your host for the Bible Recap. After yesterday's demonstration where God validated Aaron's position as high priest, God addresses Aaron directly today. This is rare. God usually addresses Moses and has him pass things along to Aaron. But there are a few times where God speaks directly to Aaron, and this is one of them. He sets new rules and reiterates existing rules about how the priests and the Levites are supposed to care for the tabernacle. The priests, Aaron and his sons, are to guard the tabernacle on the inside, near the holy vessels, and the Levites are to guard the tabernacle on the outside, to keep everyone out. And God makes it clear, if a Levite passes into the part reserved for priests, they'll both die. God tells them all this in an effort to spare them the wrath he has to pour out when they rebel against him. God also unpacks something he's hinted at before. The Levites will have no inheritance among the people of Israel. No land and no cattle and nothing to bank their futures on apart from the promise of God that he will provide for them through his people. The other 12 tribes brought a tithe, which literally means 1/10 of their income, to the Levites. Of that tithe, the Levites give 10% back to God, who says it should be given to the priest. This is God's plan of provision for everyone. The Levites are giving their lives to serve the people, taking care of them, and the people are giving back their tithes to the sanctuary, taking care of the Levites. In chapter 19, we get a few more laws, particularly laws pertaining to death and being clean afterward. This is timely, not just because of all the death that happened in the camp recently, but also because we're at the onset of roughly 2 million people dying in the camp over the next 38 years. They need to know how to handle it. A lot of time passes between chapter 19 and chapter 20, roughly 38 years. We're almost at the end of the Israelites' time in the wilderness, and you're probably breathing a sigh of relief to hear that. But a lot of sad stuff happens in this chapter as we prepare to finish out their time. First, Miriam dies. She was a prophetess and the highest regarded woman among the tribes. After her death, the people encounter another spot where there's no water and they complain again. But for most of the complainers, it's likely their first time complaining. The older generation is mostly dead now. Even though they've inherited their parents' grumbling and they long for an Egypt they barely knew, if at all, their complaint is real. There is no water. So God tells Moses and Aaron how to handle it. Go get the staff, likely Aaron's budded staff, from before the Lord, likely the Ark of the Covenant, then take all the people to the rock. Then, while they're all watching, speak to the rock and tell it to release water. Easy peasy, right? So they get the staff and gather the people by the rock, and Moses tells all the rebels to pay close attention. Then he becomes the rebel because he strikes the rock twice instead of speaking to it. As the leader of the people, he lets his anger and frustration, and honestly probably his sheer exhaustion, take the wheel. He's 120 years old at this point. And it seems like this younger generation is repeating the same errors of their parents. So Moses disregards God's words, either casually or blatantly. Maybe he even halfway reasoned that this is what he had done once before and it worked, because the last time they were in this situation, back in Exodus 17, God told him to strike the rock. But the instructions were different this time, and Moses hedged. God still gives the people water. But Moses' disobedience and unbelief cost him dearly. God shows his goodness by being kind to the sinners who rebel against him, but there are consequences even for slight disobedience. As a result, Moses and Aaron are prohibited from entering Canaan too. As they make their journey toward Canaan, they need to pass through Edom. Now, we haven't talked about Edom in a while, so here's a refresher. The Edomites are the descendants of Esau, and he was the son of Isaac, the grandson of Abraham, and the other brother of Jacob, whom all the Israelites are descendants of. So the Edomites are essentially the Israelites' closest living relatives. Moses has messengers ask the king of Edom if they can pass through their land, and he says no. It's a reasonable response. With as many Israelites as there are, even passing through on the highway instead of their field, that deplete a lot of the natural resources the Edomites needed to live. So Israel had to take a longer way around, per usual. More on that tomorrow. In our final paragraph today, Aaron dies and is succeeded by his son Eleazar as the high priest. What was your God shot? I noticed how God's character is so consistent. Over and over again, we keep seeing how he makes his rules, people disobey them, and they have to deal with the consequences of their sins, and ultimately he is so merciful even in the midst of those consequences. From clothing Adam and Eve, but banishing them from the garden, to letting Moses continue to lead the people, but banishing him from Canaan, God calls sinners into his family and then works with what he's got. His mercy is such a comfort to me because I know the wickedness of my own heart. But with the bits of wisdom he's given to sinners like me, it's wisdom enough to know he's where the joy is. Reading the Bible every day is hard sometimes, but here you are. So if you want to make this process easier for yourself and help increase your chances of not dropping this new habit on the days when things are tough, the best way to do that is to subscribe. That way you don't have to go find us. We come to you, free delivery. All you have to do is click subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow and every day after that.